Hi, and welcome to Building an Arrangement in Stages. In this video, we'll be looking at the concepts and methods of how I go about building an arrangement. And we'll build slowly from the very beginnings through to the middle stages of a mix and then on to the final arrangement. And this will be what I would consider to be a rough mix going into then a final mix once I export everything and bring it back into the template. If you want to hear the actual final mix of this song, you can hit the link that will be in the description box below this video so that you can hear and compare to what you hear in this video to what the final mix actually turned out to be. Without any further delay, let's go and check it out. Right, okay, so this is the beginning of the arrangement. As you can see, I've got some vocal tracks. If I move down, I also have a temporary drum track, just something to keep time to. Move back up to the vocal tracks here. Now I've got 3 verse tracks for vocals here, another 3 verse tracks for vocals, and then I have my chorus vocal arrangement. This was a new idea for myself here. I always normally track guitars first so that I've got a backing track to perform vocals over. But in this situation, I decided to track vocals first for the first time. What I found, very interestingly, was that it took me in a totally different direction to where I would normally have gone. Normally, I tend to track things in a sort of E-D tonality on the guitar. That's not to say it's the key, but just a sort of tonality of that area. Whereas I actually performed in key, starting with vocals, and then I switched key when it came to the chorus. That was done by design. It's just something I felt. To show you, I will quickly take you to where I have my notes here. And as you can see, verse, we're in the key of B flat minor, and that's a spelling. And then in the chorus, I've moved to F sharp major. And as you can see there, that was just for my knowledge so that I could keep an eye on what I was doing when it came to tracking the music. So guitars, bass, keyboards, things like that, I would know what key I was in. Good idea if you have something like this, or even if you don't in your DAW, write it down on a piece of paper so you can keep track of what's going on. That's what notes are there for. So what I'll do is I'll just play through this first verse, a couple of bars, then I'll move on to the chorus and show what's going on there for a couple of bars. Each track is just slightly different on both the verse and the chorus. So let's investigate. Move across those great seas with intent for hosts to flee. Move across those great seas with intent for hosts to flee. Move across those great seas with intent for hosts to flee. Move across those great seas with intent for hosts to flee. Okay, so you could hear the differences there when I soloed them. So I've got my main vocal here on this track, and then this is basically a same vocal. I've put distortion on it. If I go on to the effects, you can see there's nothing there. And what I do is I like to bake my effects in because it means I've committed. I don't have any more choices, and that's what I've got to work with at this stage. When I go on to mixing, obviously I'll be fine-tuning things and adding reverb, delay, whatnot, and possibly other effects. But at this stage in arrangement, especially in the early stages, I just commit. This third track is a lowered sort of robotic voice that I've got going on. So I'll play through one more time, the three of them, and let's see what it sounds like. Move across those great seas with intent for hosts to flee. Right, we're going to move over to the chorus now. And I'll play through a couple of bars and then we can investigate what each one is doing. Empire building is what we do, not caring that you are doomed. Empire building is what we do. 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 What we do. Right, okay, so you could hear them together and what each one is doing. Some of them are panned. These two here are panned, left and right. And then these are panned hard left and right, and these are harmony vocals. Then I've got this sort of Nine Inch Nails type distorted vocal track, and then another harmony track at the end here. Let's listen to the result of all of them put together again. Empire building is what we do, not caring that you are doomed. So that is a basic overview of how I've started this particular arrangement. Whether you start with guitars or vocals, it's an idea to get a basic scratch template going as to how you want your arrangement to work out. So I've got verse, verse, chorus to start off with a basic drum beat. We're going to move on to the next section of the arrangement. Right, so this is the arrangement being built. We have fleshed some things out. We now have an intro, and also as we move down, this is a transition into verse 1. Here is some more of the intro, plus I have an actual drum track going on as opposed to the guide I had in the earlier stages. One thing I'll call your notice to is that everything is now colour coded. Blue for guitars. I like my verses always to be in green, and as you can see above, I actually have a guide up here as to what is what. So intro, verse 1, chorus, tag, verse 2, chorus, and it will expand as the arrangement goes on. I like to do this because it's good organisation in my opinion, plus also it gives me an instant visual reference. So I know everything green is always going to be a verse. I know everything red is always going to be a chorus, especially those two. Other things, they may change colour depending on how I feel on the day. Verse and chorus, which are probably the two most important parts of the song when building, I like to have that immediate reference so I can work through, because when you're tracking an arrangement, you are working in the moment and you want to have inspiration and you don't want to have things holding you back. So this just allows me to add any bits along, overdubbing, things like that if necessary later down the line without having to think, right, okay, so where's the verse? This is why this sort of level of organisation, for me personally, is very good. That's just me. I'm not saying that everyone has to do that. You all know yourselves who you are and what makes you tick. and what ticks the boxes, and this is what ticks the boxes for me. So we're going to have a little listen through, then we'll go over quickly what's going on. Move across those great seas with intent for hosts to flee. Take the land, ignore it please. We now rule with killing spree. Empire building is what we do, not caring that you are doomed. Slave in a foreign land, lives ripped apart to serve the few. Rape and pillage, new life we make. Women be children of hate. Men enslaved, bliss their fate. All in honor of feeling great. Right, okay, so we've gone through most of the arrangement so far there. As you can see here, we had some guitars coming in at the beginning, and these coexist with these tracks here. So if I solo just these tracks, those three in the intro and the guitar ones, and we'll see what's going on. If you're enjoying watching this video, please consider smashing that like button and subscribing to my channel so that I can keep on bringing this free content. As you could hear, we've got the guitars going on here. We have these guitars, these stab type guitars going on, and they're in conjunction with these drums that are coming in. Okay, we've got these drums, and then we've got this bass kind of heartbeat going on underneath that, and this all adds up to the effect. Another thing I'll say about arranging, you need to have an idea before going in. Have an idea of what you want going on. This is what I kind of heard in my head. I knew what to go for, then had to try and achieve it, which I believe I've done. That's where inspiration comes from, is having ideas. Don't be afraid to try things. If you make a little mistake or there's so what? Back in the analog days where people were on a budget and they might not be able to retake something because of the money, the huge amount of cost that it entailed back in the day, then mistakes were quite often left in. But that's what makes music. That's what makes a song. It's not about being perfect. Our ears are not perfect. Okay, so do not be afraid to make mistakes. I don't think I've made any here, but if there were any made, then so what? Yeah, okay, it's all about creativity. We'll move on to the verse. So the vocals that have come in here. Now the vocals come in between the guitars in the verse. So we've got these heavy guitars here, okay, these heavy guitars, and then the vocals down here. The vocals down here come in between the guitars. I wanted the guitars to come in between the heavy guitars to have more of an effect, to hit the listener hard. It's quite an emotive subject, if you haven't already gathered this song. It's meant to be like that. It's meant to be hard hitting. Onto the chorus, again, a change of key, as we discovered earlier. We've got some keyboards coming in, both in the verse and in the chorus. And then we've got those chorus vocals. I said earlier we've got actual drums coming in now, as opposed to just a scratch track. Got a tag area in here as well, which basically is just a way of moving a song forward. So we've got a little section here, and these little tidbits, these little ear candy bits, to suggest to the listener that there's change coming. Something's going to happen. It's very important that you have that in your arrangements to allow the listener to know that something else is coming their way. We will move on now to the end of this arrangement. This is almost the final arrangement before going to mixing. I made a couple of changes. The solo wasn't up to the standard I wanted, so I binned it and I redid it once I got the tracks consolidated and back into my template here for mixing. You can do that. There's no rules in music production, mixing, or in music itself. Rules are there to be broken. I just felt the need to retrack, so that's what I did. And I also overdubbed at the last chorus as well. Now, if you want to hear the final version of this song, fully mixed, I will leave a link below this video in the description box so that you can click on it and hear it for yourself. As you can see, this is a fully expanded and tracked arrangement. So as before, we've got the intro, verse, chorus, tag thing going on. We've now got a bridge, part one of a bridge and part two, where the solo comes in. Then we've got the pre-outro here, and then we've got the chorus outro at the end. I'll just pull your attention to this. All the guitars are panned, pretty much hard left and right. Now, when it comes to consolidating the track, so in Reaper, we go to this bit here, consolidate export tracks, okay? Now, before I do that, I like to make sure that everything is panned centrally. So anything panned, I will make sure that it is right down the centre, because when it comes to mixing, I want to have the ability to decide myself where that is going to be panned. Even though I've done it here, I've done it in this arrangement before going to mixing for two purposes. One, so that I can hear what the mix might sound like, and also to hear whether the rough mix, as this ends up being before going to the final stages of mixing, does it sound like a mix? I think it does. That is another reason why I will always embed effects in tracks when I'm tracking. Now, all these guitars are actually tracked with amp sims, not actual amps. Amp sims these days are extremely good, even the free ones. It doesn't really matter whether you're an amp sim or real amp these days. Concentrate on being creative. Let's have a listen through and see how it sounds. Move across those great seas with intent for supposed to flee. Take their land, ignore their pleas. We now rule with killing spree. Empire building is what we do, not caring that you are doomed. Slave in a foreign land, lives ripped apart to serve the few. Rape and pillage, new life we make. Women bear children of hate. Men enslaved, this their fate. All in honor of feeling great. Empire building is what we do, not caring that you are doomed. Slave in a foreign land, lives ripped apart to serve the few.
On both sides of the incident, I have all my life.
Empire building is what we do, not caring that you are doomed. Slave in a foreign land, lives ripped apart to serve the few. Empire building is what we do, not caring that you are doomed. Slave in a foreign land, lives ripped apart to serve the few. That is the pretty much full arrangement, but I would encourage you to click the link below in the description box in this video and hear the final mix, and then have a listen out for the differences between this and an actual final mix. How does it sound? How does it compare? What are the differences? Are there enhancements with the final mix? I'll let you decide that by listening to it. Also, again, I will go back to, in arrangement, it's not just about coming up with ideas, but it's also about organisation, as I said before. Finding ways to make things simpler for yourself as you're going along. So you've got signposts to guide you, as I have here up the top. I know exactly what's going, what section. Reaper makes it very easy to do this, and it's a great help. Any door that you have, I'm sure, will have something very similar that you can use. You can see the amount of tracks that are going on. It's quite a dense mix, but it sounds very clear. The number of tracks, so altogether we've got including buses, we've got 89 tracks here. Not big compared to a lot of modern mixes. So know the sound you want, know the ideas that you want to track, and that's going to help you greatly when it comes to arranging and forming an arrangement. Just in case some of the newer ones to music production and mixing, if you don't know what a consolidated track is, this is one here. These drums. Consolidated basically means when you consolidate it out, I'll quickly show you again here, consolidate export tracks. So consolidate means your track becomes a block all from the beginning to the end. And so when you pull them out and export them to a folder, if like myself, I then bring them back into this template to mix, then they line up. They're not bits like this, because if they were bits like this, you wouldn't know where to put them. Although in Reaper, the very handy thing is if you have these guides up top, then you can actually write into them, and that writing is embedded into the tracks when you consolidate them out. Always consolidate. Make sure the whole track is consolidated all the way along. Every single track will be like that. And then you can bring them back in, and then you are ready to go for mixing. Now, I hope this has been of some help to you guys. This is the way I work on an arrangement. In this particular one, I started in a different way. There's always new things to learn. And I learned something with the start of this arrangement, that starting with vocals took me in a totally different direction. So don't be afraid to try new things. Experiment. Take care. I wish you all happy tracking and mixing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Sabs out.